Hey everyone, today I want to film a video that I am calling my ADHD Homeschool Mom Confessions. So many of you have asked me in the past if I could share some tips on kind of how to effectively homeschool when you yourself have ADHD and on top of that may have kids who have ADHD. And well, I do still have some ideas kind of in the works for that. I thought I would start with this one. So these are my ADHD Homeschool Mom Confessions and maybe a few tips mixed in there. I'm trying to film this in the Target parking lot, so we will see how this goes. This is going to be a two-part video because I have too many confessions to fit in just one video. So I will do my first 5 in this video, and then there will be a part 2 where I will do my second 5. So my first homeschool confession is that I have not always been a good homeschool mom because of ADHD. Now, in the beginning, I didn't know that I had ADHD. I just thought I was lazy. And so I was constantly trying to overcome what I thought was just my own laziness. And here's the thing. I don't think that every person is necessarily cut out to homeschool their kids, but I really felt like I had the potential to be a good educator for my kids if I could get my you-know-what together. And so as I've spent time reflecting and trying different things and just really, it was all coming down to me. Like I needed to get my life in order to properly homeschool my kids. And I kind of gave myself an ultimatum that even though I feel like every year that we've been homeschooling, this is our 6th year? We started when my daughter was in 2nd grade. So 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. Yeah, we were in our 6th year. 6 years in, and I still don't know what I'm doing. But I basically, I have improved a little bit every year. But a majority of where we haven't been successful in our homeschooling has always come down to me. And my kids have presented challenges, absolutely, that make it more difficult, but I have not always felt like I've been equipped to meet those challenges in the way that I should. So while there's been improvement from year to year, really I knew that the bulk of it came down to me, and I kind of gave myself an ultimatum before the school year started that I needed to figure it out this year, or I needed to consider alternatives for them for their education, because the whole reason that we chose to homeschool was so that we could give our kids more individualized education, really kind of meet their strengths while still addressing their weaknesses, meet them where they are. All of those things were a big part of it. And I didn't feel like I was doing school with them in a way that was living up to, one of the main reasons that we chose to homeschool. And so I spent a lot of time trying to look at where my weaknesses were, where my deficits were. And this was really even before I truly realized that I had ADHD. And so I was constantly looking at like, okay, what do I need to be more consistent? That was a big one for me. It was consistency and follow through. And those were weaknesses. And why, why are they weaknesses? What causes me to kind of struggle in that area? And so I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out. And one of the reasons that this year started off so strong was that I know that I need to have, that I need to be realistic in the subjects I'm choosing to cover and the curriculum that I am picking and how much curriculum that I'm picking. I need to be more realistic. In the past, I've just gone way overboard and planned or tried to do way more than I could accomplish. And so I knew that I needed to really pay attention to that. And I knew that planning and preparation are key for me. and that I have to do as much prep work ahead of time as I can. Implementing our lessons is easier. And so I think that that's a big reason why we were able to start off our school year so successfully this year, is I did so much prep work, and really spent a lot of time thinking about in detail how things were going to fit in and what was a realistic amount that we could do in a day and in a week and in a month. And that's really kind of what helped me. So I think that if you can kind of get to the root of where your struggles are, and try to start addressing those, but also think about whether at this point in your life this makes the most sense for your kids. Because for me, that was definitely on the table of taking a deep look into whether my kids being homeschooled was better for them than being in a public school. So, but this year is going much better, and I feel that the benefits definitely outweigh them being in a public school. I feel like they're getting much more from me in our homeschool this year than they would anywhere else. And so I feel okay about our decision to homeschool. But that's definitely a very personal decision that you have to think about. But sorry, I had to take a coughing break. I'm still getting over this cold, and yeah, talking a lot dries out my throat and then makes me cough. So anyway, that's confession number one, that I haven't always been a good homeschool mom because of my ADHD, but recognizing where my kind of deficiencies were and addressing those specifically and putting those responsibilities on me as we moved into our new school year absolutely helped. My second ADHD homeschool mom confession is that I was negatively influenced or impacted in my homeschool by social media, specifically YouTube. And it's because I didn't recognize two things, I think, at the time. One, I didn't know that I had ADHD at the time. But in general, I knew that, or maybe I didn't know. Maybe that's the problem. But the person sharing the curriculum or the hall or whatever it was likely had a completely different, their brain probably worked completely differently than mine. And by not recognizing that my brain works differently than other people's, allowed me to much more easily be influenced by what they were showing me, and made me, want to buy it and try to do it and then fail. So I think really being realistic about, there's so much self-reflection that has to go into this process. In general, but especially if you yourself have ADHD, I feel like there's a lot of self-reflection that has to happen. But because I didn't realize that about myself, I just thought, I don't know. I did what they showed, and I shouldn't have. So, but also the other thing that I didn't recognize was that the person sharing the curriculum or the hall or whatever it was may have no idea what they're talking about. And their goals for their children may be vastly different from what my goals for my children are. And I definitely made a lot of bad choices, a lot of bad purchases, because I allowed myself to be negatively influenced by social media. All right, my third homeschool mom confession is that ADHD meds have been my biggest game changer for me in our homeschool. And here's the thing. I feel like there's a stigma around ADHD meds for kids or adults. I think ADHD in general for adults, there's just a lot of, a lot of misinformation out there about it, and I think it gets doubted a lot, and people don't just really understand it. And then when you add medication into that as well, and I think ADHD medication abuse on top of it, it just makes this a tough topic to talk about and for people to take seriously and not judge because of. Do I think that every person who has ADHD needs medication? No. Do I think that it was absolutely the right decision for me? I do. And I think that I know that it has made the biggest positive impact on not just our homeschool, but my life in general. And homeschooling takes a lot of you. It's not easy, no matter what social media is showing you. It's not easy to do. It's not something that, it's not an open and go kind of thing. And it takes a lot of you. And when you suffer with your mental health and it's not as strong maybe as other people's, that can make it really, really difficult. So I started our school year without medication. And while it was going much better than previous years, once I started taking medication, my ability to, it's given me the additional mental clarity that I need and the strength to be able to keep going, to not feel so mentally exhausted that I can't finish school. It's been amazing for me. Again, is it the answer for everyone? No, but it has been the biggest game changer in our homeschool, just in general. I think because there's such a stigma around ADHD medication that it's hard to talk about. And I know that a lot of people feel like if they need a medication to do something, that somehow takes away from the success of what they're doing. Almost like you can't feel kind of proud of your accomplishments or, feel good about what you're doing because you're not really doing it. It's the medication that's doing it. I think because there's so much kind of controversy around ADHD meds and adult ADHD in general, especially if you're not diagnosed with ADHD until you're an adult. I feel like there's just so much chatter out there about, from people who, think it's fake or, I hear people say, well, I have all those symptoms and, I managed to get through my life just fine. People thinking that it's made up or that it's fake or whatever else, makes all of it harder. And it makes the idea of maybe considering medication or seeking medication more difficult as well. But my ultimate goal in my life is to give my kids a good life and a good education. And I think it's one of those things you got to put your air mask on first. And if this is what I need to do to be a good mom and a good home educator, then it's what I need to do. And I would encourage you, if you've ever thought that maybe you would benefit from ADHD medication, to look into it. And I would encourage you to seek out a medical professional that either has a lot of experience with adult ADHD or a medical professional who will listen to you. It's getting harder and harder to get care for adult ADHD from just your primary care doctor. So much of it is just referred out anymore. And I think talking to a psychologist and therapy and all of those things can be very good, and for some people are very necessary. I've done a ton of therapy in my life and at different points for different reasons, and they've all been very helpful. I'm not at a point in my life right now where I feel like I need therapy for my ADHD. What I need is medication. I have a very kind and intelligent primary care physician who is a very good listener, and she understands that I know what's best for me, and that I've done my research, and that oh, there's someone walking by my car and they probably wonder what I'm doing. Hi. She recognizes that I'm an educated person and I seek out information. I do a lot of research. I ask her questions. I ask questions when I have them. And so I think in my situation, she knew that if I needed therapy, that I would seek it out, and that wasn't where I was at in my journey. The other thing to keep in mind that I guess I didn't really recognize is people will say a lot, I've heard it a lot, well, if you have ADHD, how have you gotten through your whole life? Like, how did this just all of a sudden start becoming a problem? And I think, I don't know about in men, but for women, hormones can play a huge role in ADHD and how it presents itself. And looking back on my life now, I can see where ADHD was in my life, but I always managed to get by in my life. But I always felt like it was a fake it till you make it, fake it and hope no one finds out, that you're not very smart, or you're really lazy, or like I felt all of those things, and I really wasn't those things. It was ADHD, but I was better able to kind of hide those things. And I would say I'm probably older than at least half of my viewers, but let's just say I'm closer to 50 than I am to 40. As you get older as a woman and your hormones change, that can affect ADHD symptoms. And so I got to a point where all of a sudden I wasn't able to fake it. I wasn't able to make it, I wasn't able to get by. And that combined with trying to help my daughter specifically with her ADHD and doing all of that reading and research, that's kind of when I saw, like, wait a minute, I think I know what's going on. So anyway, I just encourage you to seek medication if you think that that is something that you would benefit from. At any rate, it's been a game changer for me, and I wouldn't change it. All right, number 4, I can spin so many plates. I can juggle so much in our homeschool now, because I neglect a whole lot of other things in my life. Even now being medicated, I'm getting better. The medication is definitely helping me juggle things outside of homeschool while doing homeschool. But there's a lot of stuff in my life that you don't see in my homeschool videos, that aren't getting done because I'm hyper-focused on homeschool planning and homeschool prep. And while that's great for our homeschool, and that's why I think part of why we've been able to be so successful this year, the other parts of my life are a complete disaster. At the beginning of the school year, before I started medication, we managed to do our school, which was amazing. We were consistent, we were thorough, we were completing the things we needed to do. And in large part, that was due to all of the prep work and realistic kind of plan that I was able to do for us this year. But what happened when the school day was over was nothing. Like, nothing. I couldn't make dinner. I couldn't clean. I couldn't paint or like do the things that I wanted to do. Things that I really wanted to do, I couldn't make myself do. So I was able to make school a priority, but I couldn't do anything else. So I feel like sometimes when people are struggling with school with ADHD, you're probably at least making dinner for your kids or cleaning the bathtub, and I wasn't. So I think that that's important to recognize and to share. All right. My fifth ADHD homeschool mom confession is I get rid of books and curriculum that I'm not using right at the moment when I feel really overwhelmed by stuff and there's too much of it around me. I get rid of it and then I have to rebuy it sometimes, and it's horrible. And I feel really kind of embarrassed and guilty about that. But depending on like your ADHD type, that may not be a problem for you, but I think I'm a combined type. And so even though my distractibility is high, my impulsiveness is also high. And so I think it's really important to learn as much as you can about your own neurodiversity and constantly be reflecting on things so that you can kind of try to keep yourself in check where you can. Now, I've gotten better at this. In fact, I just went through our homeschool cabinet because I need it organized in a way where I don't have to take 5 things out to get to the thing I need. I need at the very most, only one thing in my way between me and the thing I need. And there was so much in that cabinet that I was having trouble kind of doing that. And the old me would have just been like, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this, and then find next year that I really wanted to use that. A lot of times I'll use something for my daughter and I end up not liking it. And I think I'm never going to use that again. And then it turns out it would be the perfect fit for my son because he's a completely different learner than she is. So I've had to rebuy books and things like that. But anyway, I have been slowly working my way through our house, decluttering and getting rid of the things we don't need and kind of making space to keep the things that we do need. And so when I cleaned out this homeschool cabinet, I just cleaned out our garage. I did a deep clean on our garage, which, it was bad. And I am saving some bins of books and games. I'm hoping to do a used curriculum sale. And so there are some items that I'm saving specifically for that, rather than taking to like Once Upon a Child or putting in a garage sale. Anyway, so I got that down to a reasonable amount of stuff. So when I cleaned out my homeschool cabinet, I was able to take the things that I'm pretty sure I'm done with, and put them in a bin and put them in the garage with those other items. So if in 6 months I say, oh wait, I do need that, I don't have to rebuy it. I can go out and I can find it. So anyway, I don't know. That is kind of embarrassing when you've like spent money on something and then you just impulsively decide to get rid of it and then you have to buy it again. So, all right, those are my first 5 ADHD homeschool mom confessions. And hopefully there's a few usable tips in there for you as well. I will share part 2 of this video with my last 5 ADHD homeschool mom confessions. But I would love to talk to you down in the comments.